Hey everyone, welcome back to another story about entitled people, small-town chaos, and the kind of revenge that honestly sounds fake until you live through it yourself. So picture this, I leave town for 2 months, and somehow, that wasn't even the craziest part. My grandfather passed away about a year ago, and to everybody's surprise, he left his estate to me. Now when I say estate, I don't mean some cute little farmhouse with a porch swing and 2 chickens out back. I mean 50 acres of dense woods, a giant old mansion sitting in the middle of nowhere, gravel driveway winding through the trees like something out of a horror movie. The whole thing looked like a place rich people in movies inherit. Right before uncovering dark family secrets. The house itself was rough though, real rough. Rotting wood, leaking ceilings, mold creeping into the corners. Old pipes whining like ghosts every time you turned on a faucet. Honestly, the place looked exhausted. But underneath all that, it had potential. Serious potential. So every weekend, I'd drive out there and work on it. Some days I'd replace floorboards, some days I'd paint walls. Sometimes I'd just sit on the back porch with a beer imagining what the place used to look like when my grandfather was young. It became personal after a while. You know what I mean? Like the house stopped feeling like property and started feeling like responsibility. And for almost a year everything went fine. Until June. One Friday afternoon, I pulled up to the front gate and noticed the padlock hanging loose. At first I thought maybe I forgot to lock it the last time I was there. Wouldn't have been impossible. I was exhausted from work back then. Still, something felt off. I drove up the long gravel driveway, and for some reason the woods felt quieter than usual. No birds. No wind. Just tires crunching gravel. That should have been my first warning. I spent the whole weekend renovating like normal, cleaned up before leaving, locked the gate carefully this time, then headed out on a long work trip for almost 2 months. And that's when everything went completely insane. The day I came back, the gate was open again. Not unlocked. Open. And halfway up the driveway, I saw a silver SUV parked outside the house. My stomach dropped instantly. I remember sitting there gripping the steering wheel thinking, okay, either somebody broke in, or I'm about to accidentally walk into a murder scene. But like every idiot in every horror movie ever made, I got out anyway. I walked to the front door, unlocked it with my key, pushed it open, and yelled, "Hello!" I heard footsteps upstairs. Then this middle-aged guy in a bathrobe leaned over the railing like I was interrupting his vacation. "Can I help you?" he snapped. I actually laughed for a second because my brain genuinely couldn't process what was happening. Yeah, I said. "You can start by explaining why you're in my house." Then his wife appeared behind him holding a coffee mug, looking equally confused. The guy frowned. "Karen rented this place to us for the week." I blinked.
I'm sorry.
"Who?" "Karen," he repeated. "She owns the property." "Buddy," I said. "I own the property." Silence. You could literally feel all 3 of us recalculating reality in real time. Then the wife slowly goes, "Honey, didn't she say something weird about the gate lock?" And suddenly everything clicked. The loose lock, the open gate, the weird feeling. Some lunatic had been sneaking onto my property and renting it out to strangers. I wish I were kidding. The couple immediately started apologizing once they realized they'd basically been scammed into trespassing, and honestly I felt bad for them. They looked mortified. Then the husband called this woman Karen and told her to come over immediately. 10 minutes later, this beat-up white sedan comes flying up the driveway like she owns the place. Out steps this woman probably in her late 50s wearing oversized sunglasses and enough attitude to power a small city. She walks up smiling. "What seems to be the issue?" I said. The issue is you're renting out my house. Without missing a beat, she goes, "No, sweetheart. This is my property." Sweetheart. That word alone almost sent me into orbit. I stared at her like, is this woman genuinely insane or just unbelievably confident? "I have the deed," I told her. "Well, I've been renting this place for weeks," she snapped back. "So clearly it belongs to me." That logic was so stupid I didn't even know where to begin. The couple looked terrified at this point. The husband finally goes, "Yeah, we're calling the police." That changed her expression instantly. "Oh, no need for all that," Karen said quickly. "You two should just leave." The couple grabbed their bags and got out of there fast, but Karen stayed planted in the driveway arguing with me like we were in court already. Then she finally said the line I'll never forget. "What's the big deal? I needed money." Like that somehow justified all of it. I remember laughing out of pure disbelief. "You broke into somebody's property and started running your own Airbnb." She crossed her arms. "You're disrespecting your elders." And before I could stop myself, I muttered, "Yeah, and apparently my elders are criminals." Her face turned bright red. She stormed off screaming threats while I stood there wondering what kind of psychological disorder I just encountered. Now at this point, most sane people would think the story ends there. Police report filed. Locks changed. Crazy lady disappears. Nope, that would have been too easy. The next morning, I installed a brand new security gate, heavy-duty locks, and a full CCTV system around the property. Cost me a fortune, but after dealing with Karen, I wasn't taking chances. Then I had to leave again for work the following day. Big mistake. Around noon, during a meeting, my phone buzzed with a security notification from the cameras. I ignored it. Thought maybe a raccoon tripped the motion sensor or something. An hour later, I finally checked the footage, and my blood went cold. Karen had climbed the gate. Not alone either. She brought 30 people with her. They were having a full-on party on my lawn. Music blasting. Coolers everywhere. People drunk and dancing. And right in the middle of the yard, a giant bonfire, way too close to the house. I immediately called 911 and started driving like a maniac. Longest drive of my life. By the time I got there, I could already see smoke through the trees. Then flames. Huge flames. The side of the house was burning. I don't even remember parking the car. I just remember running toward the property, hearing wood crack and sirens screaming in the background. Most of the party guests had already fled. Cowards vanished the second things got real. But Karen was still there, in handcuffs, screaming at the police. One officer had a black eye, apparently because she tried punching him during arrest. And while firefighters blasted water through shattered windows, she looked me dead in the eye and yelled, "This is my property. I lost it." I walked straight up to her and shouted, "You burned down my grandfather's house." And you know what she said? "I just wanted a bonfire. If your house got in the way, that's not my problem." That sentence still haunts me. Not because it was cruel, because she genuinely meant it. There was no guilt, no panique, nothing, just entitlement.
Pure radioactive entitlement.
The police pulled me back before I did something stupid, and honestly, good thing they did. After that, things moved fast. I showed officers the deed, the CCTV footage, the security logs, everything. Turns out Karen had been scamming people for months. Renting out properties she didn't own all over the county. She'd steal guest information, credit card numbers, fake identities. The whole thing unraveled once investigators dug deeper. The fire damage alone topped $1 million. Arson charges, fraud charges, trespassing, assaulting an officer. She got hit with everything. 15 years. Yeah, that happened. And the weirdest part? Even while being dragged into the police car, she kept insisting the property belonged to her. Like somewhere in her mind, she'd convinced herself hard enough that reality would eventually agree. The mansion survived, technically. Barely. Half the roof collapsed, entire sections had to be rebuilt, smoke damage everywhere. Some rooms were destroyed completely. But we decided not to sell it. My parents told me something that stuck with me afterward. If we walk away now, my mom said, then she wins. So I kept rebuilding. One wall at a time. One floorboard at a time. And honestly, sometimes late at night when I'm out there alone working, I still think about that whole situation and wonder if Karen will show back up one day after prison acting like she owns the place again. At this point, I wouldn't even be surprised. People always ask me what the biggest lesson was from all this. Simple. Some people don't just ignore boundaries. They genuinely believe the world belongs to them. And those people are dangerous. Anyway, that's my story. Let me know what you think because I still can't decide what's crazier, the fact she rented out my property to strangers, or the fact she somehow found 30 people willing to attend a bonfire hosted by a woman climbing over locked gates. Would you have pressed charges immediately, or would you have handled it differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments because trust me, people are very divided on this one.